Hello, grade 10s. Today we're going to be starting financial mathematics. We're working with slides 1 to 9 from the slides PowerPoint financial mathematics. We're going to be starting with simple interest. Now, just a few things to talk about before we move on. What is interest? Interest is a money value added onto an amount of money that you've loaned. So if you go into the bank and you borrow 10,000 Rand, at the end of the day, you still need to pay back that 10,000 Rand, but you're not going to be paying back 10,000 Rand in total. The bank will charge you for borrowing that 10,000 Rand. So you could pay back something like 13,000 Rand or 14,000 Rand or whatever the interest is. So you still have to pay back that 10,000 Rand plus an extra amount that the bank charges you for lending that money to you. So that is what interest is, basically. Now, before we go on to any questions in that, I would like to just get some definitions down. So we're going to be using letters like this: A, P, little I, and N. Okay. Now, big A is the accumulated amount. Now, all that means, accumulated amount, it just means the amount at the end of the loan that you're going to be paying back. P is your principal amount. Now, what principal amount means? It means that the amount of money that you borrowed. So accumulated is the amount that you pay back after the loan with the interest, and principal means what is it that you borrowed. Okay, I is your interest rate, and N is your time period. In other words, how long did you take the loan out for? 5 months, 5 years, etc. Okay, so those are those 4 things there. Now, another thing that I want you guys to know is capital I. Now, capital I is the amount of interest added onto whatever you borrowed. Okay, so it's the amount of interest. And how we calculate this I, it'll be your accumulated amount minus your principal amount. So in other words, what you paid back minus what you borrowed. Okay, and that'll give you the total interest that you paid back. Okay, now we are dealing with simple interest. So the formula for simple interest is A is equal to P 1 plus I times N. Your accumulated amount is equal to your principal amount multiplied by 1 plus your interest times your time period. Okay. So we are with example 1. And I'm just going to read it out to you. It says, Jamie borrowed 1,500 Rand from his brother and agreed to pay it back after 3 years. As a reward for not having the use of his money, Jamie's brother required interest rate of 12% per annum. Simple. Question A. The total amount repaid we need to calculate. So if I write down all of our variables here, and I go through the question, it says Jamie borrowed 1,500 Rand. So that is your principal amount. How much money did you borrow? 1,500 in this case. Okay. Then it goes on to say that he would pay it back after 3 years. So that is your time period. So we know that is going to be 3. It then goes on to say that Jamie's brother required an interest rate of 12%. So I'm going to write that as this, but now instead of writing 12% like this, I'm going to write it as 12 over 100. They mean exactly the same thing. This is just easier to work with our calculations. Okay. And they want to know what is the total amount repaid back. And that is our accumulated amount. That is the amount that we don't know. So we're going to use our formula. A is equal to P, 1 plus I times N. I'm just going to substitute our values into this equation. So we get A is equal to 1,500, 1 plus 12 over 100 multiplied by 3. And we get our accumulated amount is, just put that on the calculator, and you should get a total amount of 2,040 Rand. Okay, so you can see he borrowed 1,500, but he's actually paying back 2,040 Rand. Question B is saying, what is the amount of interest paid? Now that's this one over here, the amount of interest. So we know it's going to be A minus P. So I equals A minus P. So our accumulated amount for this was this 2,040 minus the principal amount. How much did he borrow? 1,500. And we get an answer of 540 Rand. So Jamie's brother charged him 540 Rand for him to borrow 1,500 Rand. We look at example 2. Example 2 is saying, I'll read it out to you. 4 years ago, Tundi invested some money at an interest rate of 8.5% per annum. Simple. Her investment just matured and she received 15,000 Rand. How much did Tundi initially invest? So let's write down all of our variables, A, P, I, and N. Okay, so I'm going to read it again. It says 4 years ago. So that is our time period, which is 4. Tundi invested some money at an interest rate of 8.5%. So, grade 10s, that's 8.5%. Just like the previous example, I want you to write it as 8.5 over 100. Okay. Her investment just matured and she received 15,000 Rand. Now, that is after this whole investment period of 4 years. So that is what she's getting out. That's the accumulated amount, the 15,000. Okay. How much did Tundi initially invest? So that is your principal amount. What did she start off with? So we're going to write out our formula. A is equal to P, 1 plus I times N. And just fill in our values that we got there. So we've got here 15,000 equals P, we don't know what it is, 1 plus 8.5 over 100 times 4. So if I work out what this is on a calculator, I get 15,000 is equal to 1.34 times P. That gives us the 1.34, and then we still have the P. Now, in order to get the P on its own, we need to divide both sides by 1.34. So we will get P is equal to, if you take that on the calculator, you will get 11,194 Rand and 3 cents. So Tundi initially invested 11,194 Rand and 3 cents. If we look at example 3, I'll read it out first. How long will it take for an amount of money to quadruple at an interest rate of 10% per annum? Simple. So it sounds a little bit complex, but it's not too bad. So it says there, how long will it take for an amount of money? So how much money did we start off with? We don't know. So in maths, an unknown, we make it X. And it says, how long will it take this amount of money to quadruple? So quadruple this would be 4 times that amount. And it says that we have an interest rate of 10%. So that's going to be 10 over 100. And it's asking how long will this take? So this is the one that we want to calculate. Write down our formula. A is equal to P, 1 plus I times N. Fill in our information from here. So here we get 4x equals x, 1 plus 10 over 100 times by n. Okay, first of all, I'm going to divide both sides by x to get rid of that, and we will get 4 is equal to 1 plus 10 over 100 times by n. So we get 3 is equal to 10 over 100 times n. I just took the 1 to the other side and it became a minus. Then on your calculators, I'm going to divide both sides by 10 over 100 to get rid of that. And if we take this on the calculator, 3 divided by 10 over 100, we will get n is equal to 30. Therefore, it took 30 years for this investment, whatever it is, to quadruple. Grade 10s, I would like you to do exercise 12.3 for me, please. Thank you.